LinkedIn Algorithm 2024 Insights were fairly recently released as a report by Richard van der Blom from Just Connecting. And as someone using LinkedIn for professional and also business, personally professional and business purposes, understanding how LinkedIn works, I think it's crucial for success, for me, for you, and for others who are using LinkedIn. Did you know this? LinkedIn reach has dropped more than 50% for 95% of creators on LinkedIn. And follower growth has also slowed down to 40% for some compared to just a year ago. When I heard this, I was just astonished. Now, what am I doing there if nobody is seeing my posts? Ever since I changed the language of my LinkedIn posts from my native Finnish to English, I think I've actually mentioned this before to you, haven't I? But ever since I changed the language of my LinkedIn posts from my native Finnish to English and started to grow my international audience, I've had just severe challenges with the reach of my posts. With some peers of mine, we've wondered how much of it has to do with the language change and how much of it may have to do with simple algorithm changes LinkedIn has done periodically over the past few years. And when I read this insight report, I understood why. And now I'm asking why for myself. Why am I using LinkedIn? Well, I want to share with you that LinkedIn made a significant algorithm update in September of last year, that's September 2023. And according to Richard van der Blom, these changes have been substantial modifications impacting reach and engagement of our posts on the platform. And in this episode of Building a Modern Employer Brand podcast, I want to go through these changes, well, not all of them, but some of the most important changes and talk about how they impact our reach and how we should be using LinkedIn today with information of those changes. And while this will obviously benefit you, I did this episode also for myself because I have struggled with LinkedIn for way too long. And I have to be honest that those struggles of mine have put me off LinkedIn. And I think it's time to regain the pleasure of engaging and building relationships with you guys on LinkedIn because most of my audience is actually using LinkedIn. And I think that I should enjoy using LinkedIn too. And so should you. If you are new to this podcast, my name is Susanna Rantanen. And as mentioned, I am a native of Finland in the northern parts of the Nordics, the northern parts of Europe. This podcast is a weekly dose of educational and inspirational news, ideas, tips, and advice for everyone who's working in communications, marketing, and branding that are targeted at current and future employees. And I'm here to guide you in making the most of your HR marketing career so that you can experience professional joy and achievement and success, because that's what you deserve. So if you work in talent attraction, talent retention, talent branding, you want to make this podcast part of your weekly routine. As one of the world's top employer branding experts and influencers, I want to invite you to the world of modern employer branding with practical, logical, yet science-based tips to help you to convince and convert your relevant talents and apply the most effective communication methods from storytelling to persuasive communication and the power of social media. With these words, let's move on to this week's episode. And this one is about the LinkedIn algorithm in 2024. I want to start this as a note that there are multiple algorithms on the LinkedIn platform, just like there are on other social media platforms. So our personal profiles and feeds are operated by a different algorithm than company profiles. And then, for example, the advertising function is again run by a different algorithm. And as I talk about today of the LinkedIn algorithm, pay attention to whenever I mention specifically this to be about your personal profile or specifically about the professional or the business profile. Okay. Now, Richard Bliss, who is the author of Digital First Leadership, he explains that the LinkedIn algorithm in general works almost the opposite of any other social media platform. Now, I've known that LinkedIn is different, but it's kind of like the Alice Wonderland of social media platforms where everything is kind of upside down to how we used to thinking about algorithm and feeding the algorithm in other social media. Now, what I think the main difference is that LinkedIn doesn't want your content to go viral. And the viral word is a little bit, I would say tacky here, but that's what Richard used. So I used that. But what he means is that when in every single other social media platform, we are chasing maximum impressions, maximum sort of, expansion of the audience who sees our content. LinkedIn doesn't do that. LinkedIn wants our content to be relevant for the other users. And this is the difference is mostly based on the advertising money, because LinkedIn's revenue doesn't come from advertising. Well, a tiny bit of it does, but most of LinkedIn revenue comes from all those memberships, such as the premium membership or the sales navigator or the recruiter membership. Whereas every other social media platform, their revenue come from advertising. So they have created their algorithms in ways that get the most eyeballs for content on the feed. So that's the biggest difference. And that's why LinkedIn doesn't have to chase, millions of eyeballs. It wants to chase the relevance and conversations. So the more content that is seen on the other social networks, the better, because that brings in more money, more eyeballs for the advertisers. But as said, on LinkedIn, when advertising is not their main source of revenue, it makes advertising and those, lots of eyeballs for content less irrelevant for LinkedIn than for the other social media platforms. Now, I want you to kind of memorize now LinkedIn. Remember LinkedIn algorithm, or LinkedIn as kind of like the Alice in Wonderland of social media with this algorithm. So everything that you know, how to do things, how to post, what works on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok, for example, then it's probably the opposite on LinkedIn. Okay. Now, Richard van der Blom, who created this amazing study of LinkedIn insights for 2024, which I have used as a source for this episode, he says that for the first time, we've observed that factors such as the ideal length of text, subject matter, and posting frequency may actually differ depending on the format that you choose. Now, this is important in terms of how you post, what your post format is, how long of a copy text you have, do you have links on it, what is the subject matter, what you're posting about, and obviously whether you are using, for example, images on your post on LinkedIn. So the main thing about the LinkedIn algorithms, all of them, that they are designed to connect us with our network, with our connections, with our friends on LinkedIn. Company content, everything that you post from your company account is, this is really depressing, is shown only to 2% of your followers. Only 2% of your company's followers on LinkedIn are going to be shown the post that you post on the company account. Content that you publish from your personal profile is shown to 10% of your followers. Now, that is still so little amount, But it's still much better to post from your personal account, personal profile, than it is to post from the company account. And that is actually troublesome, especially in, I would say, talent marketing, when things like using employee ambassadors and so on are, growing as, your most important kind of media, your spokespeople on the platform, because you want to use their profiles because their posts are shown to 10% of their audience, as opposed to publishing the content from the company account because it's only shown to 2% of the followers on the company account. Now, let's talk about then who are those people that are so privileged that they're going to see our posts. And this is all based on who reacts to our posts. Let me rephrase that. So who sees your next post on LinkedIn is based on who interacted, as in engaged, with your previous post. So you no longer should treat your posts as independent of each other, and instead think about them as a kind of a continuous flow, kind of like a story, if you like, that people actually want to come back for the next episode or for the next post. Interactions on LinkedIn are similar to those on other social networks. So you have the same sentiments from likes to hearts, or on LinkedIn you have the support and so on. You have also the negative sentiments. Then you have the comments, which you also have on other platforms, as in sharing what you thought about, your opinion about the content, the subject of the post. And you can also repost a post on LinkedIn, and you can send it as a direct message DM to someone's inbox on LinkedIn. Now, based on the significant LinkedIn algorithm changes on the personal and professional profile users, not the company, on our personal profiles, the reach of your next post is based on how many reaction points you'd received from the specific people on your last post. So those people who interacted with your last post. So I have a little recap here. I'm going to read it from my notes to you so that I don't forget about it. Okay. So who sees your post? So getting likes. So somebody likes your post, which is like the easiest thing to do, easiest format of interacting with the post, right? So getting a like, that increases the likelihood of your content, of your next post being shown to that person who liked by 30%. So 30% increase of the likelihood of your next post being shown to the person who liked this post. Then if this person comments on your post, then that likelihood increases to 70%. So 70% more likely they are to see your next post if they made a comment on this post. If they share your post, then the likelihood for them to see your next post increases by 80%. And getting them to look at your LinkedIn profile increases the likelihood of them seeing your next post by 100%. So that's not a likelihood anymore. They will see your next post if they looked at your LinkedIn profile. So every time you get new connections, 100% of your posts will appear in their feed for the next 2 weeks from the time that they connected with you. So definitely be strategic about connecting and then posting afterwards. Now, LinkedIn algorithm wants us to connect with people with our network on LinkedIn. And connection means not following them, even though that's a connection, but connecting on a kind of a daily basis, engaging with them. That means having a conversation. So not a like, having a conversation. And how can you have a conversation with the person on LinkedIn? Of course, it's through comments on their post, right? And that's why just liking a post is not as important as, for your post to be shown to more people than to have people have those conversations in the comments area of your post. So you want to write your post in a way that people want to comment them. Furthermore, the quality of your content is even more important. So the subject of what are you actually posting about? Is that relevant for LinkedIn users? LinkedIn users come to LinkedIn for professional information that keeps them update on whatever is professionally valuable for them, information and insights that helps them to learn. And therefore, we're talking about any kind of career content, career related content. So having those, more like the Facebook kind of content is not necessarily what people want to see on LinkedIn. And therefore those are not the kinds of subjects that the algorithm is going to push forward. Let's say that. Now, if you get people to consume your content, you want them to comment. And then you want them to check out your profile, because this in total will mean that your content will be shown to them. And that's like 100% guarantee. So everyone who looks at your profile will see your next post. That's how the algorithm apparently works. Now, I guess you can turn this around. If you don't want to see the post from certain people, don't go and check out their profiles. Do not share, do not comment, do not even like, do not even stop on their post. So that's how you can decrease the likelihood of seeing their posts. Let's then talk about how the new LinkedIn algorithm impacts your personal profile, your personal posts. Now, the app updates on the LinkedIn algorithm for our personal profiles, those are not that great. I have a recap that I based on the notes that I made listening to Richard Bliss talk at Social Media Marketing World 2024. And here is my recap. And again, I'm going to look at my notes. Okay. Now, first one, who sees your LinkedIn posts? As said, only 10% of your followers see your LinkedIn posts. And that refers to the golden hour after you post. So the golden hour is like a test period. And the reach is so slow during this time because LinkedIn doesn't want to show bad content to their audience. They don't want their audience's feeds to be filled with content that doesn't meet their expectations for quality and whatever purpose they are on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn only shows your post to 10%. And this is because during the golden hour, which is the first 60 to 90 minutes after you publish your post, they are testing. They're only showing it to 10% of your audience to test whether that audience is going to engage with your post. And based on the reactions, the interactions, the conversations during that first 60 to 90 minute golden hour, then the algorithm decides whether they're going to show your post to more than 10% of your followers. Now, how can you increase that 10%? There's a couple of things that really matter. Now, first of all, you obviously want people to comment on your post during that golden hour. That matters the most. And preferably those people who you want to see more of your post, who you want to see your next post. And not you, when we talk about commenting, being lazy about it, just adding an emoji or one word or two words, that's not a conversation. You have to think about a conversation as having an opinion or an insight that you want to share for the other people who are consuming that same post. Another one, which I did not know before, post only once a day. You can technically post 100 times a day, but every single post that you post during one day will eat the reach of the posts before. So if I post one this morning and then I post another one in the afternoon, the morning post kind of stops being shown. So you only want to post once a day. And the best days to post right now, according to this insight, are Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And the best times are local times. On Tuesday and Wednesday, that's about 7:30 to 9:30. And Saturday slightly later when we wake up and have time, with our coffee up until about 11:30. So when in other social media, you want to post when your audience is likely to see your post, read your post, or watch your post, which can be different times, different hours. Then on LinkedIn, you specifically want to post during a time when they can actually comment on it. So them just to be seeing it or watching it, that's not enough. Browsing through it, not enough. You want them to have time and interest actually to comment it. So think about that. That's very different to the other social media. Optimizing your post based on the type of post. So I'm talking about is it a text-only post, a post with a photo or a video or a slide deck, a PDF? Is it a LinkedIn article and so on? Is it a poll? You want to optimize your post and the copy text on your post so that they make a really great conversation starter. So think about that. So based on that, the best conversation starters are posts with text only. And after that comes posts that are text only with a personal photo or a photo of people in general, but not like a really professional photo or a really a bland photo, even if it was your company photo, but you want it to be more like a selfie style or like an informal style. The more selfie style, the more informal the photo, the better. And what you must avoid, very important, you must avoid scheduling posts. Now, this is also something that hit me hard on my soul because we do use scheduling tools. I use them as well for my own posts. And apparently this LinkedIn new algorithm, it notices when we use technology to schedule posts. And I think that this also applies to using the LinkedIn's own schedule feature, because what it is thinking is that if you are scheduling, you're not actually going to be present having conversations with those who see your post. So if you don't bother being present, why should we show your post? So you want to actually post yourself without a scheduling tool. Also, you must avoid any stock photos or very artsy photos, as said, because apparently the LinkedIn audience behavior is against paying attention to content that is very kind of commercial-like, business-like. And that's why the algorithm has been changed to prevent those posts from being shown, because they have noticed that people don't like them. They don't stop at those. So make sure also when you take pictures for your own business or for your employer, when you plan to take company photos, that try to make them very informal and sort of selfie style rather than making the appearance very professional. No video. Even though the video is one of the best content formats on pretty much every other social media, LinkedIn, the Alice in Wonderland, doesn't want us to silently watch videos. They want us to have conversations, and they consider videos as the worst conversation starters. So, this is a message to myself as well. Don't bother posting videos on LinkedIn. And then this one is really surprising. LinkedIn articles. Can you imagine that they are not pushing even their own platform feature, LinkedIn article, because it does not drive conversations? It's a long form content that people go and read in that LinkedIn blog, and they're not commenting those. Okay, then this is not what you should avoid. This is what you need to do more. So additionally to posting text-only conversation starters or text only with the selfie kind of selfie style or informal style of picture of people. Increase the time that you spend on LinkedIn commenting on other people's posts. Now, here's a tip. Comment the posts of the people that you follow, who you want to follow you, or who you want to see more of your posts. And also comment people who you want to see more of your posts. So again, when you're trying to grow your employer branding audience on LinkedIn, you want to comment the posts of those people who match with your ideal talent profiles so that they will see your posts. Commenting has become LinkedIn's most powerful feature. Every comment builds your brand awareness, your personal brand awareness on LinkedIn. So make sure that whatever you comment is intentional and help people understand the value that they can get from you. Always provide your own insight, your own opinion, your own advice, your experience, your tip, so that the other people reading those comments can recognize the value that you provide and hopefully go and check out your profile, because then the next time they will see your post. Now, I feel like this is a lot to digest, so I think I'm going to leave it at this. I want you to check out the show notes article in which I have tagged my sources, Richard Bliss and Richard van der Blom, on LinkedIn. And I also have a couple of visual examples of LinkedIn posts on the show note articles page for you that I have sort of commented on what they got wrong now, in comparison to this, or reflecting to this new LinkedIn algorithm kind of rules. So maybe those help you to understand the new LinkedIn algorithm better. And as always, the show notes article can be found on this podcast's very own website at www.modernemployerbrand.com. And this is episode 176. That's all for this week, my dear audience. Don't forget to subscribe to Building a Modern Employer Brand podcast on your favorite podcast app or YouTube. And while you are there, please rate this podcast if you like it, obviously. And if you find this podcast valuable or this episode valuable, can you share with a few of your friends or colleagues working in HR, talent acquisition, employee branding, marketing? I would really appreciate if you could spread the word. Alrighty. Thank you for tuning in. Moi moi, and see you next week at the same place at the same time.